Happy Wednesday, everybody, and if you weren't with me last time, happy 2022. I'm glad you could join me. We're going to have some fun today because today is day 3 of my 5-day fast. So, how is it going? Well, I got to tell you, my brain needs flavor. It really does. And so, you hear people talk about a water fast. And some people can do that, and I admire them for that. I absolutely cannot do a water fast. So, if you're not going to do a water fast, what can you do? Well, we're going to talk about that today, and while we're talking about it, we are going to make some Jell-O. So, now I'm still doing dishes, and I haven't got my apron on yet. That's twice this year. Have you guys noticed that? I am rarely ever in the kitchen without an apron on, but I was busy doing a little bit of research this morning, so this is my rodeo apron, but it's handy and it works, so I am going to wear it even though it is definitely not rodeo season in Canada. It is most absolutely winter season in Canada, and the temperature right now is minus 28 degrees Celsius, which is, I don't know, 20 below zero. Alexa, minus 28 degrees Celsius is what in Fahrenheit?
Minus 18.4 degrees Fahrenheit equal minus 28 degrees Celsius.
Well, there you go. Now we know.
I'm not sure.
So I was pretty close. Okay, so what can you have?
Here you go.
Alexa, stop. What can you have when you are doing a fast? And what can you do to make that fast a little more exciting? And what are we going to do today? Well, let's talk about that. So one of the things that you can have when you are doing a fast is coffee. Coffee is absolutely fine. Black, because we're avoiding calories, so you don't want to be putting cream in it. Now just hang on a second here. There we go. Okay, so black coffee. Today it is gingerbread spice. So this is one of the times when my sugar-free syrups really come into play for me. And so I have buttered rum, and I have gingerbread, and I have all kinds of things. And so wonderful hot cup of coffee is an amazing thing. Okay. Yep, that is hot. Now, another thing that is absolutely acceptable when you are doing a fast is tea. So I want to show you, because not all tea is created equal. And for me, again, I will say I need flavor. So I have, just 1 second here, because I did not grab everything that I needed, because that's just how I roll. Okay, so I have, now this is a Tetley tea. It's a herbal tea, and it even has some health benefits, although how much health benefit there is in a cup of tea that is steeped for 4 or 5 minutes, pretty close to zero. But if you do want health benefits out of a herbal tea, put it in a pot and just steep it on low for half an hour. Okay, now that being said, if we add 1 tea bag to our cup, and I have some water that was boiled and will be again in a second, I leave the tea bag in the cup while I'm drinking it because it continues to steep and offer you some more flavor. But just a cup of tea all by itself doesn't really do it for me. Now this one is called Super Herbal Tea. It's Boost. It's peach, ginger, and dandelion with vitamin B6. Okay, so I do not have ginger syrup. I do not have dandelion syrup, but I do have peach syrup. I did have peach syrup. What have I done with it? There it is. Okay. Now, a wee little bit of peach syrup in this glass. And again, this is another Da Vinci sugar-free syrup. And the first thing you always want to do is add the water to the tea bag. Now, this is putting boiling water right on it. Now, I want to tell you a story about a very special lady that I was privileged enough to know for a few years before she left us. My husband's grandmother, so Helen Mcpherson. And for a long time, she would come to our house, and I would take a teacup and I would drop a tea bag in it, and I would swish it around with a spoon, and then I would give it to her, and she would add her tea and her sugar and whatever she was putting in her tea, and never once did she say a word to me. And one day I was at her house, and she was going to make us a pot of tea, and at that time I didn't even have a teapot, and I didn't care because I just made it in my cup. Not a big deal. And so she was going to make us a pot of tea, and I said, I'll make the tea. You just sit down, Grandma. And she said, all right. And so I took the teapot over to the sink, beside the sink where the tea kettle was boiling on the stove, and I took a couple of tea bags out of her tea canister, and I tossed them in the pot, and she said, and very gently put her hand on my arm, and she said, oh, now, I have that on Do Not Disturb, and I don't know why that's ringing through, but it is. So, she very gently put her hand on my arm, and she said, no, dear, let me show you. And she took the two tea bags out, and she set them aside, and she poured some boiling water in the pot, and she swished it around and dumped that down the sink, and probably half a pot full of water, made sure the teapot was nice and hot, and then she filled the teapot full of water, and she laid the two tea bags very gently on top of the water, and she put the lid on it, and she said, that is the proper Scottish way to make tea, and that's how we do it in a teapot. And I was a whole bunch of emotions all at the same time. I was so thrilled that she took the time to show me. I was so honored that she had been enough of a lady that she never ever said anything when she was at my house about me doing it wrong, and I definitely had been, according to her. And I'll tell you, having her share that with me in such a gentle way, I have never ever made a pot of tea since that day without doing it exactly the way she showed me. And that's part of how I honor her. At any rate, she was a very interesting and very special lady, and we miss her. Okay, now we have our tea bag. Now this is herbal tea. This is not Earl Grey. It's not a normal, English breakfast tea or Scottish tea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a wee bit of peach juice to the tea, put the lid back on, and there will definitely be more tea in my day, so I'll leave that sitting there. The next thing I'm going to do is make this a little bit more exciting. Now, one of the things that I always have in my kitchen, and if you can find a small jar of it somewhere, I encourage you to have some in your kitchen, is citric acid. And in this teacup, I am adding 1/8 of a teaspoon of citric acid. Now that might be too much for you. It might not be enough, but just do it a wee bit at a time. So put a pinch in first. And if a pinch isn't quite enough, put another pinch in. Maybe you'll need 1/8 of a teaspoon. Maybe you'll need a little bit more, but it adds that zip and zing that you get from citrus, that you get from lemon or lime. So this cup of tea is going to excite your taste buds. It will, I promise. Good morning, Mom. Oh, okay. Oh, peach, ginger, and dandelion tea. When you look at the label, it does not look like something that you would want. Steep your tea, let the tea bag get going, get working, and then add your peach, sugar-free peach syrup from Da Vinci, and then a little bit of citric acid. Citric acid is something that I actually use a lot in my kitchen. Okay, now, it is still coffee time in my brain, so We are just going to leave that there. Now, the next thing I want to show you. Now, I know you're going to have all kinds of people say you should only be drinking water or tea or black coffee, nothing else. And I will tell you this, as true as that is, and if you can do it, then absolutely by all means do it. But if you are really struggling and a little bit of flavor is going to help you through that, then let's have a little bit of flavor. The next thing I am going to use is my Mio water drops. Now this one is cherry blackberry, and it is absolutely one of my favorites. So I'm going to squeeze a bit of this into my glass. And now this is a large glass. This is just about 4 cups, just about a full liter. And then instead of adding water to it, I'm going to add club soda. There we go. Club soda has that sparkle that makes your mouth happy. So we have flavor from the cherry blackberry. I call them juice squirts because you squirt it into your glass. You can call it whatever you like. And the brand does matter. Make sure that you're checking the ingredients. I know this is a calorie-free thing that you're putting in your glass, but sucralose, which is different from sucrose. Hi, AK. And hello Aaliyah. So I don't know where Aaliyah's little brother is, but I'm sure he's hanging out somewhere. Sucralose, which is not the same as sucrose. Sucrose, if it's just an ose on the end, that's a type of sugar. No exceptions. If it's a lose, L-O-S-E, then that's different. It is an artificial sweetener, and it is what they use to sweeten the sugar-free Da Vinci syrups. And do I think you should have it in every single meal and in every single thing that you do? No, absolutely I do not. But if you have a brain that needs sweet, that needs, if you are a sugar addict, and I absolutely am, and I own it, they make good travel condiment containers. Yeah, I bet they would. I never thought about that. Thank you for that. I will definitely keep that in mind. It is much better to have some sucralose than to dive headfirst into the cookie jar. And it doesn't even matter if they're low-carb cookies. There's still carbohydrates in them. So, well, unless you're doing meringue. We're going to have to do that one day soon. Okay, so I have the cherry blackberry juice squirts in my glass that has a sweetener that is sucralose. And I am just filling this 4-cup glass right to the top with club soda. Make sure that what you're buying is club soda and not tonic water. Tonic water is full of sugar. It is absolutely full of sugar, so you don't want to do that. So, day 3, so we've got the peach ginger dandelion tea with citric acid and peach juice in it. We have the cherry blackberry club soda. Oh, love that. Now, if there are other flavors that you like, that you want to try with club soda, do it. But check the ingredients. Ingredients are so, so important. Okay, now, onwards and upwards. Sugar-free Jell-O. We have raspberry and we have lime. Those are the only 2 that I have. Now, should you be using sugar-free Jell-O? There are 2 schools of thought on this. These are very, very low calorie. In an entire, so this will make 2 cups. And in 2 cups, you're going to get 40 calories. So if you eat the entire 2 cups, it's 40 calories. Is that enough to break your fast? Well, it might be. So eating half of it or a quarter of it might be a better bet. But should you be eating it at all? And what I will say to you about sugar-free Jell-O is it has aspartame in it. So we're doing something by doing a fast. We are doing something to heal our body. And if we do something to heal our body and at the same time we are eating something that is not honoring that work that we do, not the best choice. Now, having said that, is this better if you're getting hungry and you need something a little more solid in your mouth and you're really struggling? Is this better than going and grabbing a cookie? Is it better than breaking your fast with something that is solid with protein and fat and maybe some carbs? This is definitely a better choice if it keeps you going. And maybe the first time or 2 or 3 times that you try doing a fast, you might need a little more help. But as you get into it, you're going to realize that a lot of what you think is hunger is not actually hunger. It's your mouth saying, I'm lonely and I really want some flavor, and the water isn't cutting it, and the black coffee isn't cutting it, and the black tea isn't cutting it. So let's do something a little bit different, because if we don't, I am going to send you straight to the cupboard or the fridge or wherever. So a couple of things about doing a fast. The first time you do it, and I really encourage all of you to do this, the very first time you do it, do a 24-hour fast. Now that sounds like a really long time, but if you think about it, it isn't. It's actually only missing 2 meals. Now, if you don't eat breakfast in the morning, it's only missing 1 meal. So my suggestion to you would be to either skip breakfast and then have either lunch or supper. Now, if you are somebody who snacks at night, you need to stop that. And this is the voice of experience talking. So if snacking at night is something that you typically do, have your supper a little bit later in the day. So maybe you want to have supper around 6 or 7 o'clock. You want to stop eating 3 hours, a minimum of 3 hours before you go to bed. That's going to give your body time to digest whatever food you've eaten and get it out of your system so your body can concentrate on sleeping. And I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, because what do we do before bed? We have a bedtime snack. What do we give our kids before bed? We give them a bedtime snack. What we don't understand is that by doing that, we're actually interrupting our sleep. We're interrupting our children's sleep. Okay, so where was I? So you have supper. You have a little bit of a later supper. The next morning you get up. You're not eating breakfast anyway, so you have your cup of coffee or 2 or 3, whatever it is that you have. And then just skip lunch. Get busy doing something. Pick a project. Skip lunch, and before you know it, it is going to be time for supper. There, that easy. So really, you've only skipped 1 meal. Okay, if you had to skip 1 meal during the day, which meal would it be? I'm curious to know. Now, for me, I never do breakfast, or rarely ever. On occasion, when Dell is home, we'll have a late brunch, or I guess a relatively early lunch. But if he's not home, I do intermittent fasting. I try to most days. I'm not always successful, and I don't beat myself up when I'm not. But I will tell you that over the last 3 months, I gained 10 pounds. I gained 10 pounds. I didn't do that by wandering away from keto. I didn't. Every single thing that I have put in my mouth for the last 3.5 years, with one exception, but that was for a medical test and I didn't have a choice, everything that I've eaten is keto. Everything. But keto is not a weight loss diet. Period. End of story. It just is not. So it is an awesome way to lose weight if you use it that way. And it is an amazing way to nourish the human body the way that we need to be nourished. So think about that a little bit. And think about what you want this year to look like for you. And I know what I want it to look like for me. That 10 pounds that I gained, yeah, it needs to leave. So what I'm doing is, for me, it's a reset. Now, I have done many fasts. This one is a little bit longer. I've only done one other 5-day fast. And you'll figure out, if you do this, that your mouth gets hungry, but your body really isn't. You know, I have said many times, I still have a Big Mac from 1994 stored right back here that I haven't used up yet, because we store energy when we eat it, right? That's how come we have fat. That's how come babies have fat. That's how come little kids are chubby even though they turn into very slender adults. They need that fat. Hi, Dwayne. How are you? So, we've had tea, we've had coffee, we've looked at sugar-free Jell-O. Now, let's turn that water on to boil one more time. And we're going to do something with gelatin. Now, we used the beef gelatin before, and beef gelatin, there are people that have allergies to pork. There are people that have religious beliefs that don't allow them to eat pork. So look for the beef gelatin if either of those apply to you, and we will use that instead. Now, this is a time when you want your scale out, and we are going to add 30 grams of beef gelatin. And I should have done this a little earlier. Okay, 24, 29, 30, 31. Well, 31 is close enough, right? Okay, so now the next thing that we want to do is we want to let this bloom for 10 minutes. And it's important that you bloom your Jell-O. Okay, well, that's a little more than a cup, but that's okay. Okay, we have 350, so we want to leave 100 in here. A little bit more. You don't have to be too precise, but you don't want to be really crazy. After you get the gelatin in here, take a fork and make sure that it's well broken up. Now, we don't need the scale anymore, because the only thing that we needed to weigh was the gelatin that we're putting in here. Now, this is a homemade sugar-free Jell-O. So we have choices. We can add some sucralose syrup, but I don't want to do that. I want this to be something that is good for me. Now, this particular brand of gelatin is grass-fed, grass-finished, or comes from grass-fed, grass-finished beef. So we are going to look at a couple of different flavors that I have. Now, this one is raspberry. This one is ripe mango. And it smells amazing. Now, you can use either one of those in your Jell-O, because neither one of them are going to have any... Just stirring this up a little bit more here, and it's just totally taken my concentration. Neither one of them are going to have any calories, because you're only going to put one drop, maybe two. It really does not take a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bloom this, and when it's done, I'll mix it up with no sweetener, no flavoring, no anything, and then I'm going to split it into containers and add 1 drop of mango to one and 1 drop of raspberry to the other, and I'm going to sweeten it with stevia drops. Now, I got to tell you, I am not a fan of stevia. I am not a fan of stevia. But stevia is natural and it has no calories. So we're not using an artificial sweetener. We're using something that's natural. Hi, Eunice. I'm glad you popped in. We are using something that is going to make eating our gelatin a little bit better. So we're going to sweeten it with stevia drops, and we're going to flavor it with ripe mango or raspberry or whatever flavorings you have. Now, if what you have is a flavoring from the grocery store, make sure that you're checking it to make sure that there's no sugar in it, because some of them do have sugar. And one of the most notorious ones, and I say notorious because it makes me sad, is root beer flavoring. I love root beer, but every root beer flavoring that I've found has sugar in it. Yeah, I know. I don't get it either. But now you can see already how this gelatin is blooming. Look at that. It is going to be amazing. So now we're going to boil our water again. Now this isn't quite as important as it is when you are making, you know, Jell-O brand or any other brand of sugar-free Jell-O. This is important. Yep, totally lost my train of thought. Just had a moment like that. It's important to use boiling water because you need to dissolve the ingredients in a sugar-free Jell-O powder that you buy. But with this, we're blooming our Jell-O ahead of time. And so a lot of that dissolving has already been done. Now, this has been done, I presume, and I don't know this for a fact. This has been done previous to packaging. So, yeah, for some reason, it's just a little bit different. So, we have boiled our water again. And we are going to add about 1.5 cups. So we're going to have 2.5 cups total. And we are going to mix this right into our gelatin. Now that may not have been a full 10 minutes to bloom. I hope it was. Were you watching the clock? I wasn't necessarily watching the clock. Now, I see we had a couple of people pop in on YouTube that left links that you can follow. Please don't click on those links. Please do not. So we don't know where they are. They certainly were not invited by me. And so it's not something that I trust. And it's not something that I'm going to recommend to you. Okay, now we are going to divide this into 2 containers. I should have done this right in the measuring cup. Okay, so we have 3-ish there. We've got 2 cups there. We're just going to divide this into 2 even. There we go. There's 1 cup in each bowl, and then we should have another cup in here, or a little more maybe. Yeah, well, maybe not quite a cup. Okay, now we have this divided. Now this, all by itself, the way it sits, not yummy, not at all. Okay, so let's set this over here. I do not have a production crew today. I miss my production crew when he's gone. And sometimes my production crew is my friend Sherry, and I like it when she's here too. It always makes the day a little more fun. Okay, there it is. That's what I'm looking for because I made a mess all over the counter. Okay, now, what flavorings do you have in your cupboard? What's your favorite flavoring? Now this one, we are going to add 1 drop of mango. And then we're going to add some sweet drops. Now this should only take about 1 milliliter. Just 1 squirt. And after we've done that, we're going to do a taste test. And then we're going to adjust it as it needs to be adjusted. Okay, let's check this out. Nope, definitely needs more flavor and a little more sweetener. Not a lot more sweetener. I'm just really not a fan of stevia. So it does need some more flavoring though. So let's add some more mango in here. I'm going to add 3 more drops. And then we're going to give this a stir and see how it tastes. This is something that you can experiment with in your kitchen with the kids. Have everybody do a taste test. I'm the only one eating it, so I'm going to reuse my spoon. Yep, I'm never going to be a fan of stevia. But if I need some gelatin that will definitely work. So just keep adjusting it until it's where you want it to be. Now, that being said, I'm going to try something a little bit different today. And I'm going to use some juice squirts. And yes, I know there is sucralose in these. This is not my cherry blackberry one. I'm going to do something that I've never done before. And I'm going to use iced tea. So we're just going to put a squirt of that in there. Give it a stir and a taste. Oh my, that is delicious. And again, this is something that you're going to adjust to taste. So do it the way you're going to do it and make it yours. So you can see there's color in this one, not so much in this one. We don't need the color, we need the flavor if we need it at all. So put this in your fridge when you're doing your fast and leave it alone. If you need it, it's there. If you don't need it, that's okay too. Okay, that is what I have for you today. Thank you very much for stopping in to see me. Enjoy your cup of tea. Now, whether you're doing a fast or not, a cup of tea, some kind of fruity herbal tea with a little bit of citric acid in it, oh, you will love it. And coffee first thing in the morning. It's not morning without it. Have a great day, and please do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. That's what I am going to go and do. And I look forward to seeing you on Friday at noon. I'm going to be pretty close to breaking my fast, so we'll be talking about how I'm going to do that. Okay, have a great day, and thanks for being here, everyone.